Thursday Night Tailgate, where the spotlight is always on the positive. Tune in Thursday night from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time to hear your favorite NFL legends, players, and coaches sharing their stories. Now back to Chris and Bob.
I wouldn't joke about anything else that happens here tonight.
All right, now back with us and making his sixth appearance with us on the Kaiban Foods guest line is the sixth member of our 2017 Guest Hall of Fame class, and that is former Steelers kicker Jeff Reed. Jeff joined us for the first time back in October of 2014, so he's been a part of the TNT family now for nearly 3 years. We became instant fans of his because of his forthcoming and honest approach, and his podcast, Barely Controlled Radio, is fantastic as well. Let me remind you a little bit about Jeff's background. He is from Kansas City, Missouri, played his college ball at the University of North Carolina, but Jeff never kicked in a college game until his junior year back in 2000. That season, he was named an academic All-ACC player and a finalist for the Lou Groza Award, which is given annually to the nation's top kicker. He was an undrafted free agent signed by the New Orleans Saints, but spent most of his career in Pittsburgh with my Steelers. He was a kicker in the NFL from 2002 to 2011. Did spend some time with the 49ers and the Seahawks in 2010 and 11. Over the course of his career, he accounted for 959 points, 919 of them with the Steelers, which ranks him second all-time on their points list behind only Gary Anderson. And we're excited and honored to induct Jeff into our Thursday Night Tailgate Guest Hall of Fame. Hey, Jeff, Chris and Bob here. Thanks for being such a great member of the show, and we can't thank you enough for your time and everything that you've done for us over the last 3+ years, and an honor that you're back tonight. How have you been, my friend?
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm good, man. That was a pretty good introduction. I don't get that very often anymore. It's usually being in the car business, you're the most hated guy. Everybody hates going to the finance office to do their paperwork. But, no, it's great to be a part of the show in general and to have an honor now with my name on it. It's pretty cool, man. It's something else I can say I did. But you guys really did. It's your show, and I'm just lucky to be a part of it.
So Jeff wanted to, start our time with you tonight, talking about, you were a part of so many wins and so many big wins, right? 2 Super Bowls with the Steelers while you were there. I'm just, as a guy who's a big Steelers fan, I'm curious, to get your memories. What are some of the things that you remember most about being a part of the Steelers organization?
Well, the biggest thing that sticks out, and it kind of culminated, unfortunately, with the death of Mr. Rooney. You start to realize how big of a family that really is. I went to his funeral this past off season, and not only did I see pretty much every player that could possibly make it from the teams I was a part of, but I knew some of the guys currently on the team, and I knew guys from the guys like Franco and Dwayne Woodruff and all those guys that were from obviously the years before me. And I'm sure if somebody that big died in any passed away in any organization, there would be a good showing. But I don't think you would have two huge rows full of former players, current players, President Obama, Robert Kraft of the Patriots, Jerry Jones of the Cowboys, and the list goes on. So that speaks enough in itself. It's a huge family. It was the most college atmosphere in the NFL team I ever experienced. And to this day, I still keep in touch with at least, I can count on both hands, at least 10 guys that I talk to on a regular basis. And so I think the biggest thing about it, of course, the rings are great. I mean, you can't say enough about those, but that's why you play the game. But it's the camaraderie that was fantastic in that city and that organization and in that community that I miss the most.
And Jeff, one of the things that I wanted to get your perspective on is the field, Heinz Field, right? When the stadium first opened, the turf wasn't very good. The wind in the open end of the stadium always seemed to be incredibly tricky. What was it like for you kicking there? And did the team and the field managers and the stadium people, did they all really understand what you guys were dealing with, particularly you trying to kick and plant on that field and trying to kick in that stadium?
Yeah, the funny part was every time I played somebody, of course, coming from North Carolina, we kicked on like basically golf green, Bermuda grass. So I was a little bit spoiled coming from the South, but when I went up there, regardless of the weather, I mean, because it's windy and rains and cold a lot of places, snows a lot of places, sleets a lot of places, but the footing was the issue, and it was funny because every time I played somebody, we played it, obviously, every home game we had, the other kicker was like, I'm glad I only have to deal with this for 1 week this year. And I was like, well, you know, I have to deal with it for at least 10 and hopefully more if we make the playoffs. But the one thing I say about it is you just, whatever hand you're dealt, you just deal with it. And I think a couple times I spoke my opinion too much, and it wasn't a knock on anyone. It was just what kind of person I truly am. And but 99% of the time was positive. Every once in a while, someone gets the best of you, and you obviously want to say the wrong thing, and sometimes you slip out with that. So the biggest thing was I say about the field is it was very challenging. When you have to stand up for a living to make your field goals, you have to find a way. And the way I coach kids now that are in high school and younger, even in college, as I just got a new kicker that is in the starter at University of South Carolina in the SEC, which doesn't surprise me, but probably surprises the conference that who is this guy. But I saw it the whole time. When I teach them totally different than I learned how to kick on to play on that field. All the road games, with the exception of a couple games where you kick off baseball dirt, or if it's, you know, Cleveland Field used to be, you know, hit or miss. All the games except for those games, it was like, you know, I felt like I had to be 100% on the road to be successful, because I knew at home if I could make 75 to 80%, I would be over 80%, and I would be successful for the season. But the bottom line is I had to learn how to kick to accommodate to the field conditions, regardless if it was 75 and sunny or if it was negative 10 degrees and raining. You had to figure out a way to make it happen, because that's why they went through so many kickers. And the first kicker that was there was fantastic in Three Rivers Stadium, and then opened up Heinz Field, and he was 60%. And I was the next kicker in. Well, actually, Todd Peterson and myself. And neither one of them stayed very long. So I didn't complain about it. It is, I mean, and if I did, it was maybe to my family or somebody that was willing to listen. But the bottom line is they're paying me to play a sport and to do a job that is a God-given talent and I love to do. So I had to figure out a way to make kicks and help my team win.
Bob, questions for Jeff?
Jeff, when many of us think of the job of an NFL kicker, the issue of job security comes up, and there is no such thing as job security. It doesn't really matter how much success you've had in the past. You're a guy that made over 82% of your field goals. As a benchmark, a guy like Jan Stenerud in the Hall of Fame made like 67. I know the game has changed so much, but did you ever have a time in Pittsburgh, Jeff, where you figure you went out there and you said, I really have to have a good game here, or I might be looking maybe in the unemployment line a day or two down the line?
It was every game.
Wow.
I know that sounds pretty demanding, and I know that some people may take it as a joke, but I mean, whether or not you get a signing bonus from a deal, or whether or not when I was a rookie I was cheaper than other guys on the market, you don't make your kicks and help your team win, and you don't. I mean, the flip side of that very easily you can cause your team to lose. And so my mentality every game was play this game and kick this kick as it's your very last. And you know, I just I had to find a way that, and I didn't go into the mentality to be scared. I went in with the mentality that put me in this situation for a reason. I'm obviously good enough and strong enough to do it, so find a way. And if you have a bad game, you know what? It's over, and you get another shot next week. Or if you don't, then, you know, if you don't get another shot, then maybe somebody else will want you. You got 31 more shots. So it was every week. I mean, because you can hit a game winner against a rival like Baltimore and be on top of the world where people are naming kids after you. And the next week you miss one in the fourth quarter and you lose by 1 or 2 or 3. And people, you know, I've received death threats before. So it's the fine line, especially with any position. But we're in a position where we don't have a whole lot of opportunity to mess up. And, if you go 4 for 5 in a game, you're usually okay. If you go 1 for 2 and that one you missed is one that's going to cost your team, they look at it as you went 0 for 2 and they shouldn't even pay you. So, and it's not the Steelers. I'm talking about the business because the Steelers were great to me. I mean, they're still my family. I still talk to a lot of people, not only on the team but in the organization because they have a special place in my heart forever because they helped me live a dream at a young age to where I'm not now trying to figure out what's next. And most people cannot say that. So to answer your question, I know it was a little long-winded. To answer your question, every game you play it as it's your last.
And we talked a few years ago, Jeff, about the extra point being moved back and how it might bring some strategy in, or not being automatic may make it interesting, and it has, really. But it's not a question of these guys can't make the extra distance. Obviously, the guys can kick better than and longer than anyone has in history, basically. But is it a question of guys letting their guard down, not concentrating? What would cause a guy to miss? And as far as what you've seen, watching like you have, hitting crossbars like they do right now?
I know it only seems like the only minor difference of 13 yards. But when you used to go out there for an extra point, you kind of in your mind, unless you slip or unless someone misses a blocking assignment, unless you totally have a brain fart as a kicker or you have a terrible snap and hold, you pretty much know you're going to make it. It's not. Yes, you have to concentrate because that extra point from 20 yards could definitely make or break your team and your game. But when you're at 33, it is a field goal. And, yes, you get 1 point for it. It's not the mentality of an extra point, though. And I know that if you're not a kicker, you may or may not be able to relate to that. It may sound like an excuse, but I knew when they changed this, it would get interesting. Then if you throw in a penalty or something and it's a critical moment in the game, shoot, it might turn into a 43-yard field goal, 48-yard field goal, just for 1 point, just to hopefully keep the momentum. So I knew it would change. I didn't think – I mean, it's funny how some of these guys make, with the guy from I forgot where he's playing on, maybe Minnesota, Forbath, I think his name is. He hasn't missed any field goals, but he's missed, 5 extra points. And, to me, I get it. I understand. But because it's important, he makes the three-pointers too. But those extra points can also change the momentum quickly. So I think that was an interesting rule. I still think they need to come up with a point system, though. So when you're down by 4 and your team's driving, if it's more than a 55-yard field goal, it counts as 4 points, and then, there's a system in there between. But if you're going to do that and you're going to bring excitement to the game, you might as well change it. And I've thought that for a long time. Most people probably don't care, in my opinion, but I still express it. You know that. So I do know I knew the extra point would cause some differences and changes. I didn't think as many people would. I probably saw 5-6 misses this last Sunday, just watching the games on the NFL Sunday Ticket. So it was surprising, but I've been in those shoes. I've been on those fields. It's not easy. And even though you should be able to make a 33-yarder in your sleep, if everything doesn't go right, it happens.
Yeah.
Jeff, before we let you go, remind our listeners about, what you're doing now and how they can stay up to date with you, whether it's online or it's on social media.
Well, the only social media I have is Facebook, of course, and the picture of me in a Tar Heels shirt with a Nike symbol, looking funny, goofy like I am as a person. That's really me. I control everything that's said on there, and that is me. It's not anybody else acting as me because I know that happens. And on Twitter, I'm at the real Jeff Reed, and I don't get into all the Snapchat and all that because I like to have a little bit of a private life. I'm okay with most of it being public, but you kind of like some social time to yourself here and there. Also, I am the finance director. I run the entire finance department at a huge Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, and Ram truck dealership, the largest in the southeastern United States. Which is obviously 13 states there. We're number 1 in volume. And obviously, I run the finance department, so I tell people all the time in my office, because my office is like a man cave. It's got some cool stuff in it. I tell people all the time, I'd rather kick a 50-yard game winner in the Super Bowl with that pressure when we're down by 2 than some of the pressure of controlling the money of a dealership. And I know that sounds funny, but you'd be amazed how many angles from all departments come at me, not because they're mad at me, just wanting it to get in order. And the responsibility is huge. And I accept it. I like it. Never saw myself doing this, but that's why you just never know until you try, kind of thing. And I work a ton. I kind of, in my mind, work too much, but I guess there's no such thing as that because that makes you sound lazy. But not what I envisioned, but, it's a second career, and I have a path. And I can always go back to radio because I miss it. I still have my equipment, still have my small studio. Maybe I could come on with you guys on a regular basis and be part of your show and your preparation. I mean, just a thought. Because I have a handful of guys I interview with, and you guys do the best job. And it's not like you do anything spectacular compared to anyone else. It just flows. And I know when you're on the radio, if it doesn't flow, it becomes an issue. And there's a lot of dead time and dead air and crickets, but so that's what I'm doing now. I'm one of the top guys at the dealership, and that's what I do. I sell cars, try to make people happy. People that are pissed, I try to make them smile before they leave. People that are happy, I try to make them more happy. So, and the reason I got that job is because the owner is from Steubenville, Ohio. We have similar hair, so that's what kind of, brought my attention to him. And I met him, yeah. And I've been in a handful of his commercials, too. And so I'm really close with a bunch of the Carolina Panthers and Hornets because obviously that's in Charlotte. But I miss my Steelers and my Steeler fans. We had an autograph signing this last Saturday, and there were a lot of people there. But I knew if it was a Steeler linebackers, it would have been we would have to have security. So that's what I miss. And believe it or not, I signed about 20 autographs. I was trying to work, but it was pretty cool. It made me feel relevant again. But anyway, the owner gave me a shot at it and told me his goals for me. And within a year and a half, I reached my, his goal for me. And so I look back and wonder how that happened because I'll never enamor you with car knowledge. But I guess when you make a friend, make them laugh, make them smile, that's what sales is all about. And so I guess when it comes down to it, I can sell you a pencil if I have to. So that's where I'm at. I mean, I miss the football. I miss the football atmosphere, the aura, the games, the pressure, the good pressures, the good feelings. I don't miss the bad feelings. I've only had a couple of those. But I miss the fans. I miss the camaraderie more than anything, and the charity events and touching people's lives. Even though I still do that, it's just not as often, and I wish there was more to it. But I'm involved in some stuff down here, some nonprofits, and I'm actually a president of the owner of the dealership's foundation, which is for children in need in the two counties closest to us here in Charlotte, and also homeless pets. So I do a lot of stuff like that anyway. I'm always donating money to somebody, whether or not I have enough to do that or not. To me, it always comes back. So I continue to do that. But, I'm still the same person, just not in as great a shape as I was in because I'm not working out on a regular basis. But other than that, I still make people laugh and smile and like to be the life of the party at 38 years old.
Well, Jeff, you've been a wonderful part of this show for, like I say, almost 3 years now. We can't thank you enough for continuing to come back and share your story, share your insights, share your opinions on what you see and what you've been through and what your career was like. We always have such a great time, getting to spend some time with you. Thank you for coming back again tonight. Thanks for being now a member of our Guest Hall of Fame, and we'd love to have you back as often as you'd like to be.
Well, whenever you guys text me, I always say yes, and that ain't gonna change. So, if you need me at 5:00, which you never do at work, I'll shut my door and lock it and turn my phone on mute, and people can deal with it. I'm loyal to a lot of people and certain people for a lot of reasons, and some of those people I probably shouldn't be loyal to, but I am anyway. But you guys aren't in that group anyway. But anything you need from me, you got it. Only thing I'm asking though, and I've been in my high school Hall of Fame, which is cool, and I did a little speech there, and that was good. Now this is another Hall of Fame I've been in, but I need some kind of even if it's cheap and plastic, I need something I can hang on my wall so I can make people think it's like a way bigger deal than the NFL Hall of Fame.
Oh. You got something already on its way to you, so you should be getting
Yeah,
something here in the next couple of days. Let me know if it doesn't arrive.
I appreciate it, man, and it'll be in my office, and I'll send you guys a picture. But
I hope you will.
And I need to send you a picture of my office anyway because there's a lot of cool stuff in there. But thank you again, and anytime you need me, I'm here for you. And good luck with your show.
I appreciate you, Jeff.
Thanks
Take care.
again,
All
Jeff.
the best to you and your family. We'll catch up soon.
All right, thank you guys.
Good night.